Christmas.
Hello and welcome to Slash Dupes Holiday Special. Our first
Merry
seasonal
Christmas!
episode. Christmas! Season's greetings.
In a week. Merry Christmas in a week.
This is the last of our episodes for 2020 as well. We like to shake things up. We liked last time we looked at, in the last special we did, we looked at imaginary sequels to some of our significant films in our life. I was going to say some of our favourite films, but they weren't our favourite films. They were just significant films.
Lockdown 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yes, so we had to honour that title with the sort of theme of the episode. And our first lockdown quarantine episode, we looked at phrases in the media at the time. That now people are going to be absolutely sick of, but we looked at phrases like quarantine, lockdown, and we gave them a sort of movie spin, as creatives will be doing in this time period to try and sell their ideas. With me, I have Dan and Ryan, the Slash Dupe alums and regulars. How are you feeling about this Christmas episode?
Good. I'm not duping, so I've had a time to come up with an idea, and it's one that I've gone silly.
Okay, good, because we know you always go so serious all the time.
Yeah. Euthanasia camps, death camps.
Yeah, of course, you know. It's shock or
I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to that one. I have done what I always do and vastly prepared. I've basically written half a script.
Of course.
I've been really robust. I tried.
And then your kid threw coffee all over it, so now it's all gone.
Exactly what happened. And I'm really disappointed because it's the first time I've super prepared. And now I've basically got 3 lines.
It's a Christmas miracle. That's 3 more than you normally would have.
We are. Well, all of that pales in comparison, because we are honoured to have our dear friend and friend of the show in Spain with us today as a guest for the Christmas episode. We have Jofre with us. Hello, Jofre.
Hola.
Hola,
Everyone. How are you?
Good.
It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
I was honoured to find out that you actually listen to the podcast, because our friends have a tendency to be sick of our voices by the time we stop seeing them, and they can't bear delving into it.
I have a very long commute to work. It's about an hour and a half bus ride either way, and you literally saved ridiculous. My sanity. So I listen to you weekly. I'm very happy.
We would expect to do the opposite normally, so that's nice. That's good to hear.
No, I end up giggling on the bus and being really embarrassed about it. Most of the time. It's fine.
Oh, that's really sweet.
And today I have followed in Dan's footsteps and vastly prepared. But my dog ate my homework. So.
Oh no!
He doesn't even have a dog. That's the most amazing.
Oh, don't tell him that.
Yeah, he'll be really annoyed. And so I also heard that, I'll talk about the structure in a minute, but I heard that you have potentially 2 ideas. One of them is a good one, and one of them is a backup or a silly one.
I have 2 ideas in my head. One of them feels a lot sillier than the other.
Okay.
But I might not say which one is which, and then leave.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that after I see your reactions.
We often find that the ideas people have in the pocket end up being the ones we prefer.
Being the better ones.
So,
yeah. Although we did get the opportunity to choose our own titles, and Sean knows them all because he's in charge. And I think we might. Do we have a double up? I think you and I might have a double up.
So I did know, and I was supposed to touch base beforehand to make sure there are no conflicts with the titles, because
that went well.
I didn't do it. I sent out a list of Christmas films because what we're going to do for this episode is we're going to take a classic Christmas film title, because we're all about titles in Slash Dupe, and we're going to remove the film itself as if it had never been made. So we're just left with the title, and that gives us free reign. It's completely up for grabs for us to do whatever we like with it. Now, I imagine that they won't have a heavy holiday or seasonal connotation to them, but they might. You can do it's your it's the title. It's your title to do whatever you want with, because the title that it's based on, the film that's based on, has not and does not exist in this universe for this next hour and a half. So I only just found out a few minutes ago that yes, both of you have the same title out of all of the Christmas films. And there are things like we had A Wonderful Life was on there. We had Christmas Carol. We had Elf, Edward Scissorhands, Love Actually, Nightmare Before Christmas, even like outliers like The Apartment. So there were so many to choose from. So the fact that both of you or two of you have come up with the same idea, that you use the same title, is kind of wonderful and has a foot in the Slash Dupe world. So I'm looking forward to finding out how different they are as well. But it begs the question, who's going to go first? How do we want to structure the two that are the same?
I think for my Christmas present, I'd like you to go first, Sean.
Yeah, Sean.
Oh, shit.
You never get the chance
first.
to do this.
man.
That would be lovely.
I didn't know that was going to happen. Genuinely,
No, you didn't.
Because I
That's
told
why it's a
Dan
present.
10 minutes ago before we started that I barely had an idea. So he's hanging me out to dry.
And now you know how it feels.
Thanks for that, mate. Oh, Christ. All
Right,
right.
Sean. Well, I'll take over the hosting duties then. Sean, what is your Christmas film and title, and what is the idea that you've come up with?
Well, I have gone with the classic that everybody remembers, that I'm going to furiously Google right now because I should have done this earlier, and it's Deck the Halls. I'm going for the film Deck the
I know
Halls.
that. Is that Tim Allen? Is that Tim Allen in it?
I'd like to say yes, but I have to Google it first.
Maybe it's not.
Was that in the list? Are you using your host privileges to choose another film?
I am. So I thought what I'd do is to avoid, I thought I'll be really clever. No one will have the same film. It won't happen. I'll pick one and I'll leave it off the list. That's what I thought, right? I thought I'd be really, really clever. And then I forgot to chase up on both of you, and you picked the same one, which It
100% isn't Tim Allen. So I've conflated two, that it is not.
Oh, there are two films, aren't there? Hang on, let me just do this off the record. Let me find out which one I actually mean. Oh, it's clearly not this one. Okay, hold on a second. So I did all my research for this film. Hang on, this is off the record as well. And then I completely forgot everything about it. So I just need to bring it up for a second.
Is it the one with Matthew Broderick?
Yeah, and Danny DeVito and
Danny
Christian
DeVito.
Chenoweth.
So we'll have to cut out the bit where I have no idea.
Yeah,
what
okay,
this
we
film
can do
is
that
as well. So we'll go again.
So it's
Welcome to Behind the Curtain. This is how,
Hey,
this is how we make the
this
magic.
is actually fascinating. I'm very happy I'm seeing this.
some Googling we leave on the stream, some we take out. It just depends how well we
take
come
out.
across.
Or how stupid we look if we don't know that stuff. Right, do you want to go from the top again? Because it's not actually much that we were doing there, was it?
All right, I'll take over hosting duties. So, Sean, you have I'll take over hosting duties. Sean, the title that you've chosen, what is it? And what is the film that it never became?
Well, I wanted to go left field. So I wanted to actually take the idea of one film that's a popular Christmas film and the title of another one and make a completely different film from those two. So I've taken the 2006 film Deck the Halls. Now that's, yes, it is on a few best Christmas lists, but, it's at number 35 or do you? Everybody rallies round the log fire and you'll sit down and watch Danny DeVito and Matthew Broderick's Deck the Halls. So IMDb lists it as two neighbors have it out after one of them decorates his house for the holidays so brightly that it can be seen from space. Now, what's fascinating about this is, and you can see where I went to. Go on, Dan.
Sorry, that pitch would have won on another Slash.
It really would have, wouldn't it?
It's so
It
good.
really would have. And it just begs the question, why is the film not, the 5-star classic that it deserves to be? Because we didn't pitch it. That's what it was. Just give it to us.
But it is.
So I've taken Deck the Halls and I connected to the word space. I thought, okay, that's interesting. And then I thought about the phrase Deck the Halls. And part of me thinks that obviously it comes from the song, the Christmas song, Deck the Halls. Someone wants to finish it off for me. Who wants to sing it for me? Oh, is it copyright?
I don't know, but with boughs of holly.
Yes.
Fa la 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 la.
Exactly.
La, 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 la.
Thank you. Beautiful. But I wanted to completely disambiguate it from that, and I wanted to say, what if Deck the Halls? If you just, I'm not just taking the idea away. I'm taking the title away. So from its original meaning, I'm not taking it away. Don't give me that face. This is why I go last, and my pitch is the worst, objectively. Right? Okay, you did this, Dan. All right, this is your fault.
No, what I didn't do was go, here's the title, and we're not going to use it.
I'm going to change the whole meaning of the title. So Deck the Halls. If someone says Deck the Halls to you, what that actually means in this universe that I have created now, it is that you are decking the halls out in order to Wait, hold on.
No, that's what it actually.
This is so exciting.
Because that's what it.
Wait, let me roll back. Now, hold on a minute. Let me roll back. Okay, wait. Okay. I'm taking Deck the Halls, right? And I'm taking Die Hard. And I'm putting Die Hard in space, right? So I know people were saying, wait, I know people were saying Die Hard in space was Lockout with Guy Pearce. I enjoyed that film. Not a great film, but I enjoyed it. But I'm properly going Die Hard in space. So I'm having a corporate office building spaceship in space. So I'm taking the actual plot from Die Hard, which I recognize is known to many people as a Christmas movie. But I'm not utilizing the title. That's thrown away. So it's still free for somebody to use if they so desire. I'm using the premise of Die Hard in space, and I'm calling it Deck the Halls. And Deck the Halls, this is what I was getting at earlier on. You needed the context. Deck the Halls is what the people say to each other in the movie, which means get ready. So it's like, get this place ready for an ambush. Get this place ready for the criminal is coming. Get this place ready. Right. So it's got an almost like Assault on Precinct 13 feel, and like Deck the Halls is like what you say when you're like, I'm making it a new phrase is what I'm saying. It's going to mean
like batten the hatches.
It's going to be like Deck the Halls. And then he leaves
and
the President of the United States of space leaves the room, you know?
If you have something that's decked out, you know, it's got all the stuff in there. So it's sort of like the opposite of that, isn't it? It's where instead of having it all already, you're getting ready for it.
What are we going to do? We got no men. The president of space is on his own in that space capsule. What are we going to do? And he turns to like, you know, the space corporal and he's like, Deck the Halls. And that's like, you know what I mean? That's like the title, and the title comes in. So this is what I'm doing. I'm changing the whole meaning of Deck the Halls. I'm not just, you know, I'm making it the new cool epic phrase to say. Now the film has no plot. I've not thought about it beyond that at all.
Surely it should be the US Imatakan is the name of the thing, which is Nakatomi backwards,
of
right?
course.
So you've got a
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
It's like the space US embassy or something, right? Like it has to be.
Yeah, it's got over the top.
Yeah. And it's as bad
as... It has to be terrorists, surely.
Of course. Space terrorists.
Yeah. Space terrorists.
And they want to like cause a black hole to destroy like the entire of space, you know, or something. Like they want to do so, you know what I mean? It's got to be sort of the equivalent of
maybe it's the embassy. They've got all the important, they're having the Christmas, it's not Christmas, but they're having a very important meal there. So all the embassies are joining up to this town, dropping off the important people around the globe, around the galaxy, and then they're going to try and blow them all up at once.
Yeah, that's it. All of the space world leaders, alien world leaders from around the world, from around the universe.
Oh, we've got aliens.
I've just decided there's aliens in it now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So now it's a little bit like Fifth Element as well. You know, a little bit like sort of Olympus Has Fallen. And I want it to be really trashy and terrible, like Olympus Has Fallen. You know, like it's so po-faced. It thinks it's clever. It's not like Die Hard in that sense. It thinks it's about politics, but it's not really.
Okay, so
then it comes up with Blinder the Blinder line, because we all sat and watched Olympus Fallen together.
No, that was London Has Fallen.
We were really looking forward to watching the third one. We will after the lockdown. We'll watch it.
But we all there is one epic line in that we were just all nodded our heads very sadly.
It's like it's everything that they've tried to do to move the world forwards, progress and evolve the world. That film undoes all of that, doesn't it? It's just an incredibly
one sentence.
So it's a film that was trying to be good and failed miserably and is a terrible, terrible film.
Definitely. But like, unlike something like Lockout, where I think it's got, it's got some get up and go. And Guy Pearce, for example, is wicked in it. And there's some one-liners, I really like. But the film's, quite a low budget film. But this is like a $200 million blockbuster. But it's so like horribly entrenched in, I don't know, sort of backwards ideals. And, it's not a cool Die Hard in space. It's a horrendous movie. But Deck the Halls is said about 100 times. So that's like their go-to all the time. It means the same thing every time, but they sort of just say it. They construct different ways to say it. And it's like, that's just their epic phrase. And it's like,
and it's always the last sentence in a cut.
Yeah.
So then it goes to the next
always.
scene, yeah? Deck the Halls.
Always. And I haven't really thought about who are the space terrorists. Oh, I know what it is. Okay, no, let's take aliens away. This is an even better idea.
I think so.
Right? Because
so.
that's the silliest part of this idea, isn't it? It's the aliens.
That's definitely. Maybe it's Russians in the International Space Station who have managed to smuggle some black hole creating technology. I mean, it has to be either Russians or...
Can it be? Can the terrorists be one person from each different kind of terrorist?
That is exactly what I was going to say. That is what I was going to say when I said take aliens away. That was exactly where I was going. I'm not even joking.
Brilliant.
So you're onto it with Russians, Joffrey. It's going to be Russians and, I don't know, the Iranians, and it's going to be the British,
the
obviously.
American.
Oh, please.
British,
there has to be a Spaniard.
IRA.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course there does. I don't know what sort of, I don't know where you'd go with that, because I haven't seen them on screen as much as as a sort of antagonistic force in that way. You know, we've seen the Iranian terrorists, we've seen the IRA terrorists, we've seen the, you know, what would be
That's because they're so good you don't see them.
Yeah, exactly. They're like ninja terrorists.
Or to be fair, they're going to come a little bit later. All the other terrorists are going to get the work done first. And the Spanish are going to...
And they have the Spanish terrorist has to have a massive language barrier issue. Like it's all the time it's ¿qué? And someone's explaining it to him, like the Brazilian terrorist or the Colombian terrorist is having to explain to the Spanish terrorist.
What's
happening?
Is it like someone's come up in the room and gone, guys, look, diversity is important.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is all the terrorists from all around the world, right? So they do that and they're like, we've got this now. No one's going to have a go at us because obviously if every race is in there, we're not racist. And then what they do is they double down on the stereotypes of every single race. So they're like double racist because of it.
It's like some sort of Team America look at like terrorism. And like, yeah.
And it does need I feel like it's the kind of movie that needs a super villain figure.
Yeah, you're right.
One overall villain.
Can it please be Alan Rickman deep faked onto someone else's body?
And he's playing Grans Huber.
So terrible.
Yes.
That's so great. But he is a hologram in there. Like he is so they're following the whims of like an AI hologram of Alan Rickman, who's been programmed from Earth's history to just be a terrorist over and over again.
From a movie that existed.
Yes.
Now look.
That's good, isn't it?
Now it's almost good.
Yeah. That's how I come up with my actually good ideas, by the way. Sam, who we're going to have on for the Bond episode, we laugh and joke about this because he's one of the progenitors of Slash Dupes' sort of core conceit. And we talk about a bad idea long enough for it to then become good. And I think that's genuinely how they do things.
No, that's like Stockholm syndrome of your brain. Right? So it's been so bad, your brain just goes, "Oh, it's gorgeous." It's really
I think it's an actual psychological
you think
effect.
So?
When you invest enough in something, you care, no matter what it is you've invested in. I think that's like how the slot machines work.
Oh,
like the more you invest, the more you want it to be good.
Yeah. So I'm gambling with my own imagination, basically.
Yeah,
I can't leave the table until I win. And this is why I come up with ideas about all the colours of the rainbow of terrorists, all in one. It's like extreme
that's your tagline.
Radical
that's your tagline.
sort of like thing, isn't it? It's like it's so open and free that every terrorist has to be represented. It's like this bizarre movie about. But then shouldn't the central conceit? Now I know that now is when I should stop talking about this film. It does not deserve more airtime than this, right?
No, please.
But I'm just going to ask one final question. I feel like it needs to have a central conceit, or it needs to have something that feeds directly into the fact that we're trying to be really open and really left wing and really like sort of so much so that we go back around and we're having all the Benetton United, terrorists.
I'm sorry, but I think I have it.
Go on.
I'm saving your film. I'm really not. So in the original Die Hard, when he's trying to save his daughter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe here he's trying to save his son's boyfriend.
Yeah. And he's so cool with it that he has to tell everyone how cool he is with it all the time.
He's really cool with it.
He's just totally fine with it. And there's no problem at all.
Because it's my son's boyfriend. Let's dig the holes.
Is the terrorist, so that's what he's trying to save, but then the terrorist group, do they still want to call it a black hole? Do they want to call it something else?
So now this has become a movie that is so PC.
Because they can't call it a dwarf, can they? They can't call it they're trying to create like
black
a
dwarf or white dwarf, whatever it's red dwarf.
Yeah. So I think the idea is that what the terrorists want is they want to create this so that everybody's equal, everybody's wiped out, and everybody's equal. That's it.
Thanosing it.
Yeah,
Thanosing it.
And that's their belief.
But they have to call it a dark hole, right?
Yeah, that'll work.
Dark hole.
They have to
create the dark
They
hole.
have to have a whole bit, an aside where they all discuss what they want to rename it to and what's acceptable to rename this thing to. Because I saw that. I mean, I keep talking about this. I saw The Hunt recently, so I found that a really fascinating film because I messaged about this, and I think it deals with like what's cancel culture, freedom of speech, regardless of where you stand with these things. It examines it in an interesting and modern way, and it uses the tropes of like horror films to sort of examine the way social media manipulates things, the voices people have, online, offline social media profiles. It's just a really fascinating study of these modern things. This is an attempt at doing that fails.
So spectacularly.
And then they end up putting loads of lines in there that are really inappropriate. Like, we're going to have to invade the dark hole. And you're like, no, but they don't realize how horrific that is. If we don't get into that dark hole, it's going to explode and stuff like that. So.
I was, it reminds me of the Community. Do you remember the mascot for the TV show Community? So it's called the Greendale. No, yeah, that is funny. But they created like a mascot, and it was called the Greendale Human Being. And what they did is it was done by committee. And every time they created it through a different iteration, it became more and more horrific, and less relatable. So if anyone wants to Google the Greendale Human Being, it's now this like it's like a person wearing a morph suit, but it's completely white, completely asexual. The face is not supposed to represent any one person, and it's just such a brilliant sort of skew of course. We want to be inclusive. Of course, we want to be open and fair and everything. But it's interesting when these things are designed by committee, or it's interesting when these choices are made by people who are not eligible or appropriate to be making these decisions. So maybe that's the point of the film. So the people, this terrorist organization, none of them are even actually eligible to be making these decisions that they're trying to make. And I don't know if I'm trying to make it better than it is.
One thing. All the terrorist members are like the number twos of all of like the leaders, and so they all try and that's why they're not eligible, because like even though the number one most important terrorist person
phoning in and emailing into their boss who's like the big bad guy terrorist,
but they understand it. They understand like, listen, no, we've got to be this particular kind of terrorist, and here's why. And the number twos don't get it.
Man, now it's like 12 Angry Men. Now it's like, I mean, they're all
the number
around.
twos in the dark hole just makes even more
exactly.
Absolutely. So we've ended up like Mars Attacks level of
sort
parody,
of satire,
and that did extraordinarily well.
It did.
Yeah, I'm just worrying that we've taken a really bad film, gone through bad to almost satire, and actually thus proving Sean's point.
We've gone through the dark hole.
We've all been
and
our brains have all been mangled.
So is the hero American?
I think, God, that's a good question. I want it to be a film where all of the heroes are from every different kind of race.
No,
and they all get an equal opportunity to shine, and they all share with each other the opportunity to shine in a heroic context. So the hero bursts in the door and then allows somebody else to burst in the door as well. And like, I haven't really thought about it.
I want to throw this at there. So you know how there's always talk about what nationality a child is if they're born in international waters, right? So this guy, he's not American. He's born in space. So he doesn't actually. Good. So that way, he's all. So he's all. So he's for and
he's
against
of all, except
everybody.
He's all American. Like he's played by like the most white American
like Channing Tatum,
person,
basically.
Like, but I'm of all, so it's fine.
And so that's why he's like for and against all the terrorists, because he can't be teaming up against one particular thing, because he's like he's not from Earth. He's like a Spatian or something.
Do we have the budget to put Tom Cruise in it?
Most definitely.
I feel like Tom Cruise would be great for this.
He'd be perfect, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
But would he be doing an accent? Would we make him do an accent? Or would we?
Well, he would create his own accent that was of all and of one.
Yeah. And it would be just shocking. But his dedication, as always.
Well, have you guys?
He's never put in an undedicated performance. He always.
I've listened to a couple of accent coaches, and like a few of them are so like accent agnostic because they spend their time doing so many of them. They're like, they don't particularly like, that is a really weird accent. I don't know if you guys have heard that before. But...
Well, I've met this lady who speaks. She does a lot of accent coaching in Barcelona, and she speaks something that I think is called a neutral New England or something like that, which is halfway between American and British.
Right. Okay.
And it's just bizarre to listen to. I mean, even for a Spanish person.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah. So that's it. That's perfect. That's what he's channeling. In the same way that Tom Hardy was like, I've got this. Don't worry about Bane, one of the most popular characters in comics. I'm going to give him the accent of a sort of gypsy boxer that he met once. So like, don't worry. So Tom Cruise has gone, no. I've done a deep dive into accents and I've found the one most neutral of accents. And I think we got it, Jofre. Yeah, it has to be Tom Cruise. We've got the budget for it. Half 12 Angry Men, half Die Hard in Space. Yeah, I'm fairly proud of it. Any other questions? Because, I could do this all day. Deck the halls.
What are the reviewers going to think of it?
It's exactly what we think of it.
So, did you ever see Southland Tales by the director of Donnie Darko? It was his sophomore effort. Oh, so it's going to be one of those sorts of films. It's going to be a sophomore effort from a director who created a genius breakout sort of indie hit. And as always, his second idea is like his explosion of all of the 5 or 6 previous good ideas he's had. This sometimes seems to happen with certain directors when they're quite young, and their sophomore effort is just an explosion on the canvas. And Southland Tales I love it, but it's a fucking horrendous mess, right? And if you watch it, it does not know what it is. It might have been ahead of its time. I really liked it, so it's just a weird movie.
When did you like it, Sean? At what time in your life did you like it?
Yeah, when I was at university, and I had to.
There we go.
And I had to like the films that came out from weird directors that everybody else panned. So this film,
in the hope of justifying your own explosion.
Yeah, exactly, and the paying $18.99 or whatever it was for the DVD. So it's reviewed extremely poorly, but like with like sort of 39%. So it's not a 5%er. Some people are like, I saw the cut at Cannes. It was 4.5 hours long. It was tremendous. I wish that the studio hadn't cut it down. They absolutely love it. And it gets a remaster like a decade later.
Kingdom of Heaven style?
No, Kingdom of Heaven, like, legit is like, one of the best director's cuts. In fact, the best.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Cut. So like, but the studio cut, everybody was like, this is.
So I would say it's almost more extreme than that. I would think Southland Tales is a good example, or Heaven's Gate, is that the Michael Cimino film? So I would say it's like one of these films that's just butchered down to like an hour and 20 minutes, and it's turned into sort of a European sort of French action film, and it gets 40%.
I just remembered. Have you seen Iron Sky?
A long time ago, but yes. Yeah, that was touted as like a big thing,
doesn't that have a lot of international cooperation and the weirdest? It's Nazis in the moon, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, sure.
And they have like this albinizing serum to turn everyone white, and it's so bad. It's so bad.
But we like those sorts of films that Slash do. We like the films that are so bad that they're good, right?
But I think it does have that thing where it's so bad that a lot of people actually like it as a bad thing.
Yeah, like Sharknado.
Yeah. Okay, so I think this film ends up doing that. But the director he stops making films. He does a Stephen Norrington from like after League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Like he does one breakout film, and then this one kills all of his creative spirit, and he leaves the industry. That's what I think Deck the Halls does, because it was supposed to be the next big film about being progressive, but like within an action movie context. It's the next Matrix, but it failed spectacularly. And I think that's the story of Deck the Halls.
Deck the Halls.
Deck the Halls. In Edward James Olmos's accent. He's in it, by the way. Edward James Olmos is in it from Battlestar Galactica.
Yes.
All of the cast of Battlestar Galactica is in it.
Oh, don't sully them.
Sorry.
All right, Sean, you can take this hosting duty back. Who's next?
Yeah, it's harder than it looks,
Mantle
isn't
was
it?
heavy, wasn't it?
Yeah, the heavy lies the crown.
I said 3 things. You know.
Yeah, and you did it badly, mate. You know, I didn't want to say,
It
but
took
it's just
7 takes.
Yeah.
It took
Guys,
7
listen,
It's
takes.
not easy.
You,
It's not easy.
the listener, have no proof, right, of this, right? So, as far as you're concerned,
This is where I put the edits in now.
yeah, as far as you're
doing it
concerned,
7
I
times.
nailed it first time.
Feel free to contact me on Instagram and Facebook. I will. I mean, I'm open to
we will
bribes,
release
Ryan.
the truth to you.
And who knows? Maybe you'll hear me host on something else that Cusbro's podcast might be working on in the future. Who knows?
You'll be listening to this at the tail end of 2020. We've got a few more interesting projects that we'll let you guys know as soon as they're shaping up in our socials. So keep an eye out. So, that's my idea. It's obviously the best. So, who's going to go and follow that amazing pitch? Who wants to go next? So, Dan and Jofre, you've got the same title, but I imagine that you'll have a vastly different.
Who knows?
I mean, if we have a similar idea, I might have to marry you.
And we've talked about this many times over the years.
Yes, we have.
Why don't we do this? Why don't one of you two's goes if you've both got the same title?
One of you
and I'll
two's
go in
goes.
bet-
One
One
of
of
you
you's
goes.
two's
And you go in
goes.
between.
And then I'll go in between. I'll come in between.
As a
right.
palate cleanser,
So it can break up the two ideas.
that's making it worse.
So yes. So also, I have like the 2 thingy going on. So I'm happy to start with the same title as Dan or the other one.
Start with your big one, and then after we've
Okay.
done Dan's, we'll go for your sort of your silly idea. Or your
So
bad idea.
sad to reveal Dan's title, knowing that it's the same. Miracle on 34th Street. So here's the thing. I really like it as a Christmas film, and I really like Christmas films. So I thought, how could I make a Christmas film with the same title and not? But so it's still very mildly Christmas themed, and I say very mildly because it's really very mildly. I heard a lovely story about these soldiers in the trenches in World War One. I think it was German and English, I believe, who over Christmas night, I imagine a Christmas dinner, sort of decided to call a ceasefire and just had a weird Christmas sort of truce, and then just celebrated Christmas. I mean, it's hard to know how much of it is truth and how much is embellished by history, but you know that there's this truce and they celebrated Christmas together. So I decided to make a really weird mix of this meets West Side Story meets Christmas. How close is this to your idea, Dan?
It's almost identical.
Excellent.
Also, Truth, I don't know whether you're going to bring this in. Do you know about the football thing of this?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. This is what's in our
part of
history
the-
books, by the way, Jofre. In the English
which
history
may or
books.
may not be true. I'm
Oh,
hoping it is.
It's definitely not true.
Is that apparently that they had this truce, and on Christmas Day they came out and they played a game of football with each other.
Yeah.
Wow, that
Can
is.
I just add the thing that I said is definitely not true is that in my history book that was revised probably says that we won. Says that so I love that it still has to
just
have
let 'em have it.
propaganda in our history
I
book.
mean, they lost everything else.
And I
Could they
have,
not just win the match?
And I have a friend who's German, and in their history books doesn't say anything about this Christmas.
It's just a
truce or
blank.
Christmas football
It's just a
match
blank
or nothing.
page. It just goes nothing.
They don't get taught that there was a Christmas ceasefire and everything that. So I think
Nothing of note happened on Christmas.
So Jofre, you've taken this and is it a musical? May I ask then?
No, it's not a musical. I said West Side Story because it's a sort of gang related thing.
Okay.
So I haven't decided the city yet, but it has to be an American city, and the streets have to be numbered.
Okay.
And on 34th Street is the border between the East Side Gang and the West Side Gang.
Right. Okay.
And
So definitely like West Side Story. Because I was about to say, there's no other gang movies, is there? Movies about gangs being against each other, except West Side Story, Joffrey.
yeah, that's
Not the New York set one. Gangs of New York, perhaps. Gangs
yeah.
of New
Sorry.
York.
Well, you know, I am a
like
musical
that that's
theatre
what
person.
Jofre went
Gangs.
straight
The
to
gangs
West
instantly
Side
go
Story.
to West Side Story.
There's so many city-based gang-related films, but I love it.
Well, also because of the love interests. Let me get to this. Let me develop this idea, and you will see why my brain.
Then we can tear it apart once you've developed it. Yeah,
of course. So there's these gangs. Let's call them East Side and West Side, and they've been at each other's throats for it's so long nobody even knows when it started. And 34th Street is the place where all the killings happen, and it's practically trenches. Like they probably have cars, and it's a no-go zone. Like nobody lives there anymore. There's been so many shoot-ups, and so I don't know how far I've taken this idea. Probably too far, but the son of the leader of the East Side gang, and the son of the leader of the West Side gang are maybe falling in love, maybe not at school. Like they have this sort of bromance, is it love, is it friendship thing going on. And I'm not sure how important their relationship is in terms of whether it's just friendship or love, but they
there's a connection.
Bond.
There's some
There's
sort
a
of
connection there.
Yeah, sure.
But whilst knowing that your dad's and my dad are enemies. And so they slowly try and plot a way of bringing the two together, of slowly ending the violence. And it's the whole movie is these two kids trying to stop their parents from killing each other. And they can't think of a way to do it. And they plot and they think, and they eventually come up with this idea of having a Christmas dinner. But instead of telling their parents they have a Christmas dinner together, they say, I don't know, maybe it's like, why don't we have dinner on the 34th Street? We'll show them who's who. And the other side,
we've got all of our dishes. We know what we're going to put forward from all of our historical, our culture. We'll bring it out. We'll show them.
Yeah. The other side's the other kids doing exactly the same. And then they sort of plot to make sure that they somehow have to help each other. So one kid will sabotage his dad's glasses, and the other will sabotage his dad's cutlery or whatever. So they have to work together, and the whole community is there doing this Christmas thing. And, maybe we could even put in a football game, although I'm not sure how keen Americans are in soccer.
But American football, wouldn't it? Or like
or
a basketball game or something.
Because American football is also about getting ground, isn't it? Is that you sort of have to get ground.
More of attrition.
So you have the line or the midline.
God,
I don't know
you're
any
making
of the
a
terms.
sports reference. Something is.
I know
it's a Christmas
miracle. I did just call it the midline. I can't remember what the middle of the pitch is called, but there's you could have that where the table is. I don't know. I'm just
I like that. And in my head. So here's the problem with this is that because it developed a lot in my head. Then when this Christmas miracle truce ceasefire happens and they have this Christmas dinner, and I feel like the two kids should look at each other and say something cheesy and kiss.
Right.
And thus, I think it's a pivotal moment in the film where we can decide whether that starts the war all over again because the parents are hugely homophobic, or whether they sort of acknowledge it and then go, if they can love each other, then maybe so can we. And I feel like it could go either way. I haven't decided yet.
Something to do with kissing under the mistletoe. They both find themselves under some mistletoe, and then they maybe just have a kiss. Doesn't necessarily have to mean that they fall in love, though, right?
Is it a little bit like Heathers, although they're not dead, that the sun's coming out inspires the dads to come out and rekindle their burning love for each other, which is shown through hatred.
Because they've had a past, right? They had a past with each other.
They fell out. They created these gangs because
they loved
things
each
got
other.
real in the 70s, 60s, 70s when it was not a thing. And so they end up hating each other instead. And
because it was more socially acceptable to hate each other, right? And have that fiery, burning passion than to love each other.
So in the 60s, they were part of the same commune or whatever. And then obviously as time and people's ideals changed from what they were in the 60s to moving forwards, that's what tore them apart. They couldn't live like they could back then in the same communes, and now they had to basically create these wars. And then I think Dan, you maybe you're onto something, Dan.
They doubled down on the hatred for each other to save face in front of their other friends. So they were accused of that, and so they had to double down and deny it, or one of them denied
cause
it.
here,
It's escalated, right?
Yeah, it's a kind of it's escalating, isn't it? So you say, "Oh no, of course I don't like him. That's gay,"
Yeah.
and then the other person is hurt because obviously the person who loves you.
Yeah.
So and then you do something worse, like you punch them, and then they kill your friend, and then you've escalated, and suddenly
Gosh, that was serious escalation. Wasn't it?
well, don't mess with the
Remind me never to
Spaniard.
fall out with you.
Yeah, don't punch anyone in
He'll
Spain.
kill your friend. I mean, it's I love it, and I love coming out of the commune from the 60s to the 70s. I love it because you can have the east or the west, one side being of the 34th Street divide, or the 34th Street Bridge, or whatever, however you want to sort of frame this. You have like someone has more of a commune style way of running his place, and the other side is more sort of militant, or you just have these different aspects of how you want to run a community as well. And I love the fact that they, the guy who said, "Oh no, I don't want to," he's not, I don't want anything to do with him. That's gay. He's doing it. I did it to save you. I did it to save you from the people that were coming to attack you. I denied our love to save you.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That's why he did it.
Brilliant.
And
What
that's
it
the
looks
miracle
like
is that they both started a new life. They married into a heteronormative relationship, and they had children, and then their children carried on their love, and then their children have brought them together and ruined their families. But it's fine.
No, but then the wives were also.
No, now this is a Sean Scott idea it's evolving into.
So
You don't want to be so silly.
it's got a bit of a vibe of the sort of the story of the stone soup. Have you heard that story?
No.
Where it's like there's a really, really poor village, and a guy comes to town and says, "I'm going to make stone soup for everybody." And then so he basically starts boiling up a pot of water with stones in it, and he's like, "Oh, it's a bit bland." And then the farmer's like, "Well, I've got a couple of carrots I can spare." And then someone else, and then everybody comes together to make this amazing soup together. And it all comes from this guy basically just trying to make stone soup. But he had to be the first one to try and get something from everybody.
Something.
So I think that's nice about the kids having this sort of thing. As you said, the sabotage, right?
Yeah,
So
that
he breaks
meal's
the
the stone
glasses,
soup.
and it's like, well, actually, we've got all these other glasses here, and it's
He needs this ingredient to make this huge pot of something amazing, like some gumbo or some sort of amazing, curry or something. He needs like this ingredient, so they have to steal it from the other side.
War,
Yeah.
I even like that it's public and people know about it, and I think that I like the idea that the war is them trying to outcook each other. What he's doing he's doing a 3-bird roast. I'm gonna do a 5-bird roast, and it's just
it's like
but
high
then
stakes, man.
by doing that, they provide so much food for the people, the poor people in the area, and the
was
community
damaged by the war.
Yeah.
So their gang crimes has ruined the community, and actually all the community are brought together.
Yeah.
But look, we've that's beautiful.
Is it?
Well done, Jofre.
Part of me wants it
thank
to
you.
be a
I-
musical now.
I was thinking that.
Yeah,
it feels
I
like a musical.
1
Let's
bird,
write it,
2
Jofre.
bird,
We
3
should write
bird,
it.
4.
Not Ryan. Ryan won't.
No, I'll stick to acting.
You'll act in it.
Yeah, I won't sing. I'll stick to acting.
But so
the bird.
the idea of a musical is suddenly very appealing. But in my head, the leaders of the gangs were like serious action movies, like serious action film stars,
interesting.
like The Rock and Jason Statham or something like that.
Hang on.
Wait, you said
Dwayne
serious.
Johnson can sing.
Oh, really? Oh my god!
He's Maui.
That's true.
He's Maui in
Of course
Moana.
he is.
He's like a quintuple
And Jason
threat, isn't he?
Statham used to be a diver.
Because well, if you've got serious lung capacity,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you might
halfway
do.
there, isn't it?
exactly.
Yeah.
God, that's interesting though, because anyway. Look, let's not. I don't want to take it away from you if you want it to
No,
be
no, no,
drama.
please,
That's-
please,
That's
'cause that's-
totally fine.
No, that's
But you
exactly
can-
what I was saying. That suddenly the idea of turning it into a musical is very appealing. Initially, I'd thought about it being like this really serious super action film people, but
And we've turned
Please.
it
You
into
can
a-
still have it though. You can still have it. That's
because
the
it's a
beauty of it.
heightened state of reality. That's what makes it feel like a musical, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
because everything's just a little more raised stakes than
yeah,
it would normally be, I guess.
Like having a musical number with people singing whilst also performing an American football game that's not just
yes,
for sport, it's to actually gather ground in a new area of the city or something. Like that's a scene that you'll never see anywhere else, right? That's
Yeah.
unique, and it lends itself to pacing. It has the exact sort of structure of give and take, the tug of war of like the structure of
Yeah.
in a musical. So it's got something in there, isn't it?
Let's
it's
write
it's
this
the
down.
new West Side Story, is what is what they
The
call
new
it.
West Side Story.
Fuck West Side Story is what it says.
It could be Miracle with a K, Miracle on 34th Street. Make it really like, I don't know, street.
Cutting edge.
Yeah, edgy.
We'll ask Lin-Manuel Miranda to come and help us with the rap.
Yeah.
Just one though. He's not getting all the credit.
Yeah. Jesus. I watched the Disney
He'll
Plus.
be in it as well, obviously, if he writes something for it. He'll be in it, won't he?
Like music and lyrics. That guy did not stop. I don't know how he did it, like, all. I mean, that's bonkers. I don't know if you guys know more about the process of musical theatre than I do, but that seems like an incredible amount of work for him to do the music
Joffrey
and lyrics
definitely
for everything.
knows a lot about it because he's written
Yeah.
quite a few musicals. So.
Yeah, I'm actually, yeah, we just put one up in Spain, and it's I have not done the same process twice. Like in one
Right.
case, I had a script given to me in the form of it was already separated, like words and songs, so lyrics and just text.
Right.
The one that I've recently done was a crazy sort of, I want the scene where there's a trainer treating this guy really badly, and I'm like, okay, that's really nothing to go with. Like, just make a whole scene up and the text and the characters and the song. Fine, okay, I'll do that.
Wow, okay.
So I think it depends on the team you have
Right, okay.
a lot more than
And
there
it's
being
an
one.
absolute iterative,
Okay.
a real iterative process as well, isn't
Yeah.
it? Like Hamilton took 8 years, didn't it, from
Yeah.
workshop to stage to be created?
Yeah, and it's a lot of back and forth, and actually one of the most frustrating things about writing a musical, it's wonderful, don't get me wrong, it's what I do for a living and I love it, but is the amount of things you have to let go. Like, you can fall in love with this musical piece and you've worked your ass off and written voices and then you've put 5 melodies together and brought this whole thing, and it makes so much sense in your head and it's beautiful, and for some reason it doesn't work, or it doesn't fit, or there's a change in the script, and you just cry a bit inside, and okay, fine, yeah, I'll cut that.
Yeah. Kill your darlings, isn't it? That's the phrase,
so
right? So okay, so maybe he didn't do everything, Lin-Manuel, but he sure as hell getting the credit. So this will be the Joffrey takes all the credit for this, for Miracle on 34th Street with a K.
Yeah, but Dan's actually done all the work.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Which is that's how it normally works with us, isn't it, Dan? So
I really like it. I can almost see it, like, in its musical form on stage, in its version in a film. Like, the arcs in this are fantastic. Like, I just thought, like, it's really nice how it all comes together, and it has that Christmas happy ending, which is sort of what we all look for in a Christmas film.
It's got a real dynamism, hasn't it? It really feels like you've captured something and made it something else, which is rare. You know, it's easy to just copy something, but I feel I genuinely mean this. I feel like I will have never seen anything quite like this. So
thank you.
So we definitely want to see this continued.
I'm gonna go get drunk now and celebrate. I was very nervous because I've been listening to you guys for weeks, and I was like, "You really need to think of something good, man. Otherwise, it's just the Spanish guy."
Hang on. You listened to loads of these episodes and you thought, I've really got to come up with something good.
Yeah,
You've seen the benchmark.
Yeah, no, seriously. I finish every time. I've said this before to Dan. I don't know if I've told the rest of you, but every time I listen to an episode, at least one of the films, I'm like, I actually want to see this film.
Yeah.
Like, let's actually shoot this film. I fell in love with the one. Anyway, I don't need to go nostalgic over your podcast, but there was the one about
continue.
I can't even remember, the dead guy in the car, and they need to take him to Canada.
Bob
Disposal.
Disposal.
That was our very first.
Yeah.
I still think that would make an amazing film.
So do I. Yeah. It still gets me. And that was the first one that went through, wasn't it? It was our first winner.
Bob Disposal.
It was our first. Oh, wait, it wasn't the first winner, was it? I'll cut this
was.
out. It was. Oh, yeah, it was the first. It was the first winner of the episode of the whole thing. Yeah. I have a fondness for that as well. So it's so. Yeah.
Well,
but-
So now
Ryan
it's
Scott.
Bob Disposal, Miracle on 34th Street.
double feature. I like it.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 pitches left. Now we know that one of them is going to be entitled, from Dan, it's going to be entitled Miracle on 34th Street, but we have no idea what the content is going to be. And Ryan's, nobody here yet knows what title he's selected.
The reverse Slash Dupe.
The reverse Slash Dupe. But just quickly before we dive back in, how is everybody doing sort of coming up to the holiday season? How is everybody shaping up? We had our first frost in London yesterday morning. It was the first frost of the year. People have with their ice scrapers out.
This is why people tune in to Slash Dupes.
Hey, well, they're Brits, they're going to love chat about the weather.
So,
all right?
So, because obviously you wonderful people listen to this as soon as it comes out, you get the notification because you've clicked the notification on Spotify to be notified when the new episodes are out. I would have
flicked the bell, I think you said once, Ryan.
Flick the bell.
Yeah, that was questionable.
Grab the switch.
I really had to hold myself together.
Maybe I did it on purpose. Who knows? Yeah. I do know I did it on purpose. But I would have just completed a 9-hour round trip of delivering presents like a Santa to all my friends and family. I've spent the last 2 weekends as well working with a charity in Croydon to get them done. So it's been quite an interesting journey and some time for me. So, but I'm looking forward to. I always do enjoy Christmas.
I mean, in complete opposition of that wonderful Christmas spirit, I've spent the entire day in a studio whilst my wife has gone and bought a Christmas tree, and nothing's gone up yet. So we're going to spend tomorrow putting up all our Christmas decorations. But I'm still teaching towards the end of term, and still, this is a fun time thinking about Christmas. And I think everyone's really excited, but I'm dealing with a lot of students that are still a bit anxious about the whole idea about Christmas, whether they're going to be able to go home to their families and stuff. And I know we're all sort of in that zone. I don't want to bring a downer on our Christmas special,
no,
but I'm looking. I think it's it's a thing to take into account that this Christmas is going to be slightly different, which is one of the reasons we're doing this on Zoom, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Jeffy.
No. Sorry to interrupt. Like over here, I mean, you're all going to hate me the moment I say these words for 2 reasons. I went jogging yesterday in a short sleeve t-shirt. So I'm not actually very good at the exercise thing, and I have put on weight substantially since last summer. But I do attempt to do some exercise now and then, and I did go jogging yesterday, and it wasn't like even midday; it was 8 a.m. and I was in a short sleeve t-shirt, and it was on the it was just about acceptable. And I got home and I thought, yeah, this is global warming, isn't it? Because it's not even. It shouldn't be this. Spain's not that warm. It's almost December.
Gosh, I was just talking about COVID, and you went for global warming.
Yes,
and escalated also, that big.
So, and I'll continue escalating this. So I've lived abroad for many years. So my mum's always very happy to have me back. But my mum's a social worker, and most of her Christmases she's working, because she takes night shifts, and because she's a very good person, she always volunteers for this kind of crap. This year, last year, she said, okay, this Christmas I'll take every holiday shift. Next year, I want every holiday shift off. So this was going to be, last year we said, next Christmas we'll spend every day together. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day. And so, Merry Christmas, everyone.
I'm sorry to hear that. So we're in the kind of position where, like, our nan's 90, and she really wants to see us. And I think her quality of life would improve. But, like, there's no way that it would be acceptable for her to spend, at 90 a Christmas on her own. But we're in a position where, obviously, if that's not safe to do, and it's not safe to do in the quantities or numbers that of people she wants to see, we're sort of fighting the law. We're fighting what makes sense. We're fighting sort of against quality of life versus length of life and all sorts of other things. So we're in a sort of an unusual position as well. And there are people in much, much worse positions than definitely than us, than me, than my nan even. But it makes Christmas a difficult thing. And you just think, well, it's okay us not all hanging out together, but, like, is there another way that we can have that connection with each other? And I suppose it's just finding that, isn't it? It's finding a way to still have those connections with the people around us. I don't know. Ryan, cheer us up, Ryan, because even though we understand the struggles that all of us are going through during this time period, we also know the need for imagination, distance, levity, all this sort of stuff. So what can you give us to bring our spirits up during the holiday season?
Thanks. I will try. I've also gone off book, Joffrey. I have Scott privileges of being able to pick a film that was out of the list. But this is a ridiculous film, ridiculous British film that came out at Christmas in 1999, and it was called Robbie the Reindeer. Mm-hmm. And it was a claymation film. It starred Arnold O'Hanlon, Paul Whitehouse, Jane Horrocks, and it was about, and it's actually created by Richard Curtis, and it's about a reindeer. It's Rudolph's bastard son who tries to.
That's how they opened it as well for the kids, is it?
Well, it was sort of like kids, but it had
like a naughty sort of it was like a naughty Christmas treat for the adults, wasn't it?
He was basically, Santa was inventing GPS, so the most unfit reindeer would get cut. And so they had to compete in the reindeer games, Robbie the Reindeer to compete in the reindeer games to be able to become on the team, right? So I've taken the title and I'm going back to Slash Dupe episode 2. I'm going back.
Call back.
My episode, Robbie the Reindeer, stars Rob Schneider.
Wow.
Brilliant.
Schneider works at an orphanage, right? He's a lovely guy, big heart. He's helping his kids out, but they've got no parents. And he's like, oh man, how am I going to get Christmas presents for these guys? I wish I could get Christmas presents for all of these orphans. As the wishing star shoots through the sky, drops in front of him, blonk, is a little red nose. So he's like, oh, okay, what's this thing? Pops it on, and then suddenly he hunches over, and he's anthropomorphically like a reindeer. So he's on all fours, all right, but he's still got hands and his normal face and that, but he's just got this big red nose, and obviously he's like as he falls over, as goes to fall over, and so he's like, shit, what have I got to do? So he runs on all fours back to the orphanage, back into the office, and he's like, oh my god. And all these kids had was a hamster, right? That's all these kids had. And when he gets back into his office, he hears someone talking to him, and he realizes it's the hamster, voiced by Seth MacFarlane. And he finds out that he can talk to other animals, and so the hamster, and the hamster probably has a "Hey, you wise guy," he probably talks like that. And
all hamsters do.
Yeah, of course. And so they have to go on an adventure so this is Act 2 now. They now have to go. The hamster's what's his name? Santa's up in the North Pole, you see? And he has to they have to travel to the North Pole to try and find out what's going on. The only red-nosed reindeer they've ever thought of has been Rudolph. So it's this whole journey about him trying to get from wherever he is, probably in America, as we've already discovered, probably Colorado, and he has to go through Canada, and then he'll meet a wolf that's probably voiced by Liam Neeson or something like that. They have to run away from a wolf, and they'll meet the mooses, and they'll be really chilled out when they go over to Canada and everything. Maybe all the animals in America are really horrible, but all the ones in Canada are really nice, and help them out. And he has to go on this whole journey, and he finally probably gets on the Boaty McBoatface to get across to go to the North Pole. And he finally gets there, and he meets Santa. They're one reindeer short for the sleigh this year. And they don't know where Rudolph's gone. And so Rob Schneider has to he's right, I'll do it. And they put a harness on him, and he gets at the front, and they start running towards the edge of a cliff, and he's like, oh no, and he tries to stop, and then suddenly they take off. And then he, and he's hanging around, and he's kind of get used to it, and the other reindeer taking the piss out of him. Come on, mate, you can do this. And then he goes around the world, and he uses, is it NORAD? He's going with NORAD's Santa delivery thing, like delivering all the presents to everyone, and it's all the stuff of him like fitting down. You know, like they're like, oh, it's actually the reindeers that deliver the presents. It's not Santa. He just sits there on his phone, and it's like the reindeer are going down, and they eat all the cookies and drink all the milk. It's not Santa. It's you put them out for them. And so there's just this image of like Rob Schneider having to drink loads of milk and eat loads of cookies and stuff, deliver all the things.
Yeah, crawl down chimneys and stuff.
Crawl down chimneys.
Who
and
plays
stuff like that.
Santa?
He's like, how am I going to fit? How am I going to fit in there? Oh, it'd be John Goodman. John Goodman plays Santa.
Yep, fair enough. Yep.
Of course.
And
why did we even ask?
Yeah, and then so he's like, how do I fit down there? And they're like, Christmas magic, and they'd like shove him down one, and he comes out, and then he finally like delivers all the presents. They're like really good. I don't know. This is obviously time bending because he has to go around the world or whatever. America's last and best for some reason, and then he finally delivers all the presents, and then Santa's like, oh, by the way, there's a whole bunch of other presents like back here that we haven't delivered. Do you want to just like take them off my hands for a good price? And you realise, Santa's a bit of a dick. And, but this, like, it's just like, yeah, you can have them for like, $5 or whatever. And then, or it'd be like all the naughty, or in fact, you know what it would be? This is it. It's like, oh, we've got this extra sack here that we didn't deliver, and it'll be like all the presents for the Trump family. And they didn't get them delivered or something like that.
Topical.
That's good.
There you go.
Yeah,
and so he takes all of these presents, and then he's like, and then the end Santa's like, oh, like I've been looking for that, and he finally looks up from his phone and he sees Rob Schneider and he pulls the red nose off him, so he's no longer a reindeer. He's now back to being a bipedal human. Mm-hmm. And he takes the sack and he gives all these kids these presents, and it's Christmas miracle, and that is my ridiculous film Robbie the Reindeer.
So hold on a minute, he's called Robbie. Is he playing himself? Is he playing a character called Robbie?
I had a thought about this, and I think yes. I think it's Rob Schneider. I think it's Rob Schneider going to an orphanage to try and cheer up some kids. Right?
Yeah. That's cool. Like
and
a
then
JCVD type thing, like playing off of the stereotype of Rob Schneider to begin with.
I like the fact that Rob Schneider, in canon on Slash Dupe, always has to be like
can't be
taken into being something else. He's like a case, or he's a reindeer. We're gonna have to make this a running theme, I think.
Yeah. But like
when I heard Robbie the Reindeer, and I realise now it's probably because of The Wedding Singer, but I thought Adam Sandler. But you went Rob Schneider, and that's fine.
Yeah, because he's got to be playing himself, right? That's the thing. Yeah. That's what elevates it. So that at the start, he's playing washed up, sort of fairly miserable Rob Schneider who's trying to do the best he can. Probably out of work.
Because Adam Sandler's stolen all his jobs.
Yeah, that's completely it. And like in the movie, he fucking hates Adam Sandler. And then anytime anyone talks about Adam Sandler,
that's who Santa is. That's who Santa is.
No,
Adam Sandler.
Hang on.
No, I was going to say he has to deliver. He has to deliver presents to Adam Sandler's house. And
that is.
And then he delivers them and like knocks over his tree, like eats the cookies and milk, and then takes a shit on the plate. Yeah, and then
that's a bit extreme, but
yeah, well,
Could we add like a dark beginning? So he was in this film, and he maybe was drinking a bit, and there was this kid on set, and he punched this kid. For some reason, this kid was pissing him off, and he punched him. So then it's a PR thing. It's a PR stunt. Going to this orphanage is a PR stunt.
Yeah,
and then when he arrives
they replaced him with Adam Sandler.
He sees these kids, and he's like genuinely touched and moved by the kids,
and all they have is the hamster.
and then that's when he goes out and has this moment of revelation.
That's great.
He is.
Yeah.
And then there'll be
elevated this.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jofre.
There'll be a little plaque. There'll be a little plaque on the hamster cage, and it'll say "Donated by Richard Gere."
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Just a deep cut.
It.
Yeah, I like
that. It's a deep cut.
I like that. I think that's a really good idea. John Goodman is like bastard Santa Claus. Like that's a great idea.
Not bastard Santa Claus, just lazy. Like
fair enough.
Feet up. I'll chuck you the trumps.
Reindeers will do it.
No. Actually, fuck. How much? What? He'll be like, I'll give you this sack of Trump presents for however much he paid in tax last year.
That's good. That's a good gag. That's a genuinely solid gag. Yeah. That works. I have some questions.
It was a rush. It was like I gave you guys a lot of information quickly.
Yeah, no. So this is what I'm trying to deconstruct. Like, So what actually happened to Rudolph is what I'm interested in knowing. Because
I think he took part in some games and he never came back. So, to see who was the fastest, and he ran off and just never came back.
Oh,
because
he
throwback to the actual Robbie the Reindeer.
Yeah.
See what I mean?
Well, because he was so mistreated by Santa, he was so always made to do the hard work.
No, he was like
just ran away.
No, it's like
He's in Tijuana with his feet up.
I think it's like
with his hooves
he ran away. He ran away because Santa wasn't treating him, like as like a stunt. Right, I'm leaving, and like thingy, and then
He's like, yeah, fine, you can go if you want.
Yeah, thinking that Santa would ask him back.
Yeah.
No, Rudolph, don't come back, and he didn't.
And he didn't come back. And then he takes the nose and he goes, I really like. As
so
much
it's
as
like
I gave
his
Rudolph shit,
power in his
I
nose.
really love him. And then then Rudolph comes out of the nose, like comes flying. I don't know how.
You've lost me now.
You've lost
You know
it.
how
No,
you know
well up to
how
them.
like you know
That's
how
it. It's lost
you know how
now, man.
magicians take a little red ball and they like shove it into their palm and make it like as it goes in on itself.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It just
We know
doesn't
what-
make
yeah, we just-
sense.
or he takes it off. He goes, I really miss like Rudolph, and then like I don't know.
Yeah, the same
Magically
star comes
back.
over the
Yeah.
top, and it's actually Rudolph. The star is Rudolph.
There you go.
good.
So we got there in the end.
That's
Then-
better
and
than the
it's
magician's
because-
red ball.
And
there,
it's
Ryan.
because it's because while Santa's holding the nose, he's like, I did really love Rudolph. He was the shining light to my sleigh.
Yeah, I like that. And also on the topic of like sleigh, he has to be listening to like death metal when he flies around on his sleigh.
Well,
Doesn't he?
we already say this. I think it probably shouldn't. It will be that soundtrack during that thingy in the sleigh. It will be like probably a drag queen, like a Todrick Hall or someone like that. Like, because it's that kind of sleigh. Like I'm gonna slay
See.
instead of.
Part of me wants to see
Metal.
Santa as a drag queen now. Like, and just shake up
That
the whole
might be
formula a
interesting.
bit.
Oh
Do you know what
yeah,
I mean?
because we definitely get like RuPaul to play.
Also, John
Santa.
Goodman would be a fucking brilliant drag queen, don't you think? Like, he'd be
Yeah.
hilarious and he'd be
And maybe
amazing.
he's
obviously
just
not
mean
now,
because he misses Rudolph.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's it.
He's just being a dickhead because he's actually sad inside.
Yeah. God, Joffrey, you love to make it like about
bring
something,
it.
don't you?
I am a romantic. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You even elevated an idea about like space terrorists.
All right,
Somehow
all
you
right.
managed to
Stop bringing it back to your pitch.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, Robbie the Reindeer. I really like it. You've made it about a person called Rob. You've made it real, and it's sad and whimsical. It's sad in
But like
and then
obviously
hopeful at the
there's a lot of tropes. Like there'll be obviously the part where he like slips on ice and then is like splayed out like all fours like Bambi like spinning around. Like we'll have all of that body comedy from Rob Schneider. We'll
Does
have
he
all
know
the
he's
all the stuff with
a reindeer?
Yeah, he does. He put it on and he's on all fours, and so
But he
he's like
can't
walking
take the
like
nose
a
off.
reindeer.
Can that be what it is? It's like
Yeah,
because
he
he's got
can't-
hooves,
yeah,
he can't take it
can't
off.
take it off.
So he
Okay.
retains his human
His humanoid form, yeah, because we had to save on CG, so we couldn't actually like
Yeah. So
give him.
Spent it all on arrest my case.
Yeah, and so,
Are we-
but then the other animals see him as a reindeer, right?
Right.
But,
okay, do we see
so-
him as a person, but they see him as a reindeer? Okay, do we see him dressed?
Yeah. So he's
Like,
he's
so
dressed
is it
to
the
like he's
same
not,
clothes?
yeah.
It's-
But then when the other animals see him, and then there'll be a scene where he like looks in a mirror and he looks like a reindeer, but like.
I understand now.
So then there'll be things like while he's walking on all fours as a human, like around town.
Yeah, and it
like
looks ridiculous.
talking to a hamster, like hamster in a ball or whatever, and like he'll go to like pay. He'll go to like, order tickets to like travel the channel, and he'll like put his hooves on the thing, and then he'll be trying to get his wallet out and can't do it. Like it's basically his hands are like this the entire time. So it's like
yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And then Santa, like at the end, maybe goes like, Santa, like he goes up to Santa and he's trying to talk in his like reindeer voice, like no one can understand what he's saying. But Santa's like at the right at the end is sort of John Goodman as Santa is sort of like, I knew you were, Robbie all along, and he could like see him as, Rob
The
Schneider,
human.
and he just did it to like, because like at the end he wasn't a dick at the end, he was doing it to.
P.S. You look ridiculous.
Yeah.
takes the
Put
nose
some
off.
pants on. Yeah. Oh, that's a surprisingly good idea, Ryan. Not that like it just started as something.
Wow.
It's
Wow,
a
the
Rob-
offhanded
Normally you're
compliment.
rubbish.
The offhanded compliment.
You started by saying it's a Rob Schneider film where he turns into a reindeer, all right? So to get the compliment that it's quite good afterwards.
I am the first person to not watch a Rob Schneider film, but I thought, you know what? It's Christmas. It's ridiculous. It's something that you could watch with the kids and then also as an adult get a laugh out of it.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
Oh, those ending lines. I'm just with the ending lines.
Ryan's proud of himself because I can see when he's winding up to do a little outro. He's doing his little Ryan outro to cutting point.
The thing is, they might never make it into the cut, right?
They always make it into the cut, Dan. Fuck you.
Oh, now it won't.
We prefer this end line.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Dan, I'm very much looking forward to your follow-up. No, it's not follow-up. I'm sorry. You have the same title as Jofre, but I imagine that your idea is going to be completely different. So thank you, Ryan, for your pitch. That was amazing for Robbie the Reindeer. Dan, Miracle on 34th Street.
I mean, how can you follow all of these pitches? They've just been amazing.
Welcome to my life.
But the way I'm going to follow it is by actually being the only person on this podcast that followed the rules that Sean set out, which was to take a Christmas title and make it non-Christmassy, and one single title. So now I feel really bad because everyone else is like happy, fun. Hey, it's Christmas. Let's blow up terrorists. And like I've got Miracle on 34th Street. I did my usual thing of asking my wife for her advice because, you know, her advice is always welcome and always brilliant. She doesn't even listen to the podcast anymore. And she suggested for Miracle on 34th Street that it was about Miracle, who was a sex worker who worked on 34th Street.
Wow.
That was her
heavy.
pitch. And I was like, do you know what? I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to run with that because I think I'll probably get myself into all kinds of problems. So instead, I stuck with Miracle on 34th Street. But this is a Denzel Washington, Jennifer Lopez, Matthew McConaughey film.
Oh, good cast. I like it.
It's a I want to say it's a traditional rom-com, but it's a little bit more I was going to say Erin Brockovich, but actually that's pretty close because it involves lawyers. That's probably why I suggested it. But like something with a little bit more bite. Well, the studio wanted it to have a little bit more bite in it.
Day traders.
We pick up with seeing J.Lo is moving out. She's packing up her car with her child, who I think will be played by Brooklyn Prince because it's a modern day sort of title release. And she's packing up her car. We gathering she's divorcing from her husband who is in the house who we don't get to see yet. And she's moving away. She's sad, but she's angry. We gather he's probably cheated on her, you know, the traditional opening of any kind of rom-com. And so she's packing, they're on a road trip. They're going to move to Baltimore and they're going to move into this new house on 34th Street because they can't afford anywhere else. He's absolutely taken her to the cleaners. She's not got very much. And I don't know whether Baltimore 34th Street is a poor or affluent area, but in my world, it is a poor area.
Okay.
And maybe it's because she had family there. Maybe it's an old granny's house, you know, because she's really just Jenny from the block. And so she goes back to this place and it's a bit run down and she's, you know, her daughter's sad. She doesn't get to be with all her friends and stuff. But they pull together and they're just getting their life back together. We're just seeing, like, we get a little bit of a montage of how the community is starting to come around. And then the tragic news comes that the whole of 34th Street is being bought up by a real estate agent to be knocked down, to be turned into some luxurious housing for the elite. And during this time, she's met this guy at a bar, played by Denzel Washington, he's a bit of a, you know, he's not quite an alcoholic, but he's had a tough life as well, and he's just sitting there. Maybe he's like singing along to a dusty old piano or whatever, because Denzel can sing. I don't know if that's true either.
It feels like it's true, doesn't it?
It feels like he should,
Yeah.
you know, especially that old kind of, you know,
gravelly sort
Piano
of
man.
gravelly
dulcet
kind of sound.
sort of, yeah.
So of course they have a little sing, don't they, together? Because J.Lo likes to have a sing in one of her things. Anyway, but they hit it off, but don't hit it off. Do you know what I mean? Like there's that tension, but not tension. And so she's going to get kicked out. She's got nowhere to go. And Denzel hears about this, and it turns out that he's a lawyer. He's been down on his luck, and a reason that he's drinking and stuff is because he's had a whole string of losing cases. But he's got a heart of gold, and all the cases he's always taken on have been to like stick it to the man, and he's always lost because the man has always got everything. Anyway, so he decides to take on this case and see what's going on. And it turns out that the realtor is Matthew McConaughey, who is J.Lo's ex-husband, and he's buying the place up to revenge her, and he's taking the entire street out in his revenge against her. And it all ensues, blah blah blah. At one point, he brings her into his office to talk to her about it and give her one last chance, and if she'll just sleep with him, he'll call the whole thing off. And he's
such a charming sleazeball, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a charming sleazeball, absolutely. And she leaves in tears, and Denzel's outside. Don't know why he's outside, but he happened to turn up for that. And he goes in and he punches Matthew McConaughey in the face, like, "You'll never hear the last of this. I'll show you to you." Blah 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 blah. And but what he didn't know is that Denzel went in there, and when he clouted him one, he stole the file on the 34th Street, and he goes through it all, and he finds out it's all been fraudulent, and the guy doesn't have the money to buy 34th Street. He's trying to wind people up, so he sends it to all the shareholders the investors that are buying in, and they all shut him down, and they shut his company down. And because there's a clause in the
Santa
divorce
clause.
papers, Santa Claus, there's a clause in the divorce papers that if his assets get liquidated, she gets half of it. And so suddenly she's got the money, and she buys 34th Street, and she pays. She does everyone's houses up, and her and Denzel, they kind of get it on, they never get it on, and they just have this kind friendship at the end. And she reminds him that he can win cases, and he drives off into the sunset.
Yeah, I really like that. I love it, mate. I love that community feel. I love that, like, you can feel like that Denzel might just roll up every sort of like Monday or every Wednesday and just comes into her kitchen in 34th Street and they have a coffee before he heads on into the office. You give it that sort of homely feel, that sort of that real friendship of just coming in and being welcomed into a community.
Yeah, I feel like also like with the Denzel arc could be brilliant. Like you can have him sort of, he's given up on it, and then she cries and tells him what's happening, and he's like, "Your ex-husband sounds like a piece of work," and he decides to take him on, and he takes the case on, and they're losing the case. They're losing, and they've practically lost when this meeting thing happens. And Denzel maybe meets some mentor or something who tells him, like, the cases aren't won in court, they're won outside. And he gives him this tip that makes Denzel go, "Ah." And he does the whole punch in the face thing, and he discovers his love for his career by not actually being a good lawyer, but punching people in the face.
Yeah. James, that's the American way, right?
James Earl Jones is his mentor.
James Earl Jones.
Actually, no, hold on a minute. Who was the guy in the original Miracle on 34th Street that played Santa but not Santa? That guy. That would be his mentor to like tie it in. Do you know what I mean?
Hang on, we should know this, right? Shouldn't we?
We can't tie it in because Miracle on 34th Street doesn't exist.
Yeah.
The film.
All right, it's James Earl Jones.
Also, wasn't it like Richard Attenborough? So I don't think that works. I kind of want to, James Earl Jones. Yeah. James Earl Jones.
Yeah, that works.
It's a good shout.
I love it.
It's a good shout.
So that's actually also quite a robust and complete pitch, isn't it? That's like a start to finish, which is unlike you, Dan, to have a full start.
Very unlike me.
I'm enjoying that. And when you have a nice robust pitch like that, there's very little that needs to be sort of like dug out of it.
No, I'll just give Denzel a ring. I think Denzel and J.Lo would be such an amazing...
Mate, you nailed it. I was going to say that 100%. So, like, I can just see them together as a fantastic on-screen presence, right? Like, as a relationship, not necessarily a sexual relationship, but as a relationship.
Totally platonic, but just with dynamite. Potential for something, but chemistry. But neither of them go there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I love it.
What's their actual age difference?
That's a very good
question. I feel like he's probably a bit old, probably a decade.
Yeah, he's probably a bit older, which just strengthens this, doesn't it? It's perfect because
is that the thing? So he's
I think
he's 19. Born. Denzel's 65.
Oh, she's 51.
You would not know that. Okay.
And then that's why that sort of thing comes in of like, if there's a romance aspect, but he's sort of like, look, I'm quite a lot, I'm old enough, like I've seen some shit, like he's not interested in that sort of relationship, maybe, like he just wants to help her. He doesn't want to take advantage of a situation, or something like that. So many, like, what was I watching the other day? Babylon AD. Don't ask me why I was watching that fucking filth, but like, there's just a bit where they hang out for about 20 minutes or whatever, and then suddenly, and she's also portrayed the woman. It's called like Born Sexy Yesterday, where she's like, it's like this trope that I saw in a YouTube article where, similar to Fifth Element, like they're basically like babies who are like somehow hot women. So they have like they have no sort of understanding, like in Fifth Element, they have no understanding of who and what they are. They need a man to coach them. They need to be told what to do. Oh, I know nothing. Teach me. But yet they're also a sexy woman of like with a 20-year-old body. So it's the Born Sexy Yesterday trope.
Or any age, of course.
yeah, of course. But normally they're like nubile and young, and like it's a bit, it's always a bit suspicious. It's weird. So after about 10 minutes of interaction with Vin Diesel, suddenly they're about to make out. And bearing in mind the whole rest of the film, she's been this sort of almost like a child figure, right? There's no romance put in whatsoever. So it's like, you really...
So we're doing the opposite of that.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
We're doing the exact opposite of that.
Can
Just
we portray a healthy relationship between a man and a woman on stage?
Because it would be nice to actually see that. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And I guess the J.Lo arc is definitely the arc between her and her daughter, and how that bond of being separated is, they realise that they're there for each other, and that maybe she hasn't been giving the same attention to her daughter. She's worried about the protective side of the effects of protecting her, the effects of that, even despite her ex-husband being an absolute charming sleaze. So, she's always trying to be okay about the dad.
Yeah, which I think
Matthew
would
McConaughey.
be nice to see in films, because they really, as soon as they divorce in a film, the other person is a bastard. They never have this sort of mindful, respectful attitude that runs.
And in this case, he actually is a bastard.
Yeah.
So she's doing, like, she's doubling down on how cool she's being, because she's trying to maintain the relationship between the two of them.
Yeah, exactly. Which
maybe they have a neighbor who helps the daughter see her mum in a new light, and maybe this neighbor's called a Miracle.
Oh, that's good.
So you've got two miracles like
and
this.
She's the sex worker.
And she's a sex worker. Yeah, of course. No, that's what I thought you were going towards. You can have like Sarah's second rewrite comes in.
Well, we were doing
Sarah comes in and inserts like sex worker, and then she gets her redraft.
And then
on the cutting room floor you take it out.
And it's like, no, because it works, because she's a sex worker, and then she's like, my mum was never around, like, you need to look how I turned out.
No, we don't need
we can't
that
demonise that. That's the bit we can't have.
Need that.
You can have a sex worker in it. People are sex workers, but how you handle it is because I think it is interesting.
She's not a sex worker. She's in the top 1% of OnlyFans. All right.
Yeah, but you say that. That's actually quite interesting. And then that's something that like we need to...
Because that's more current.
Yeah, and to discover a little bit more in film so people can learn.
It's like the first time in history where women have been able to be empowered. Sex workers are empowered in that respect.
Yeah.
Like, it is a complete game changer, I think.
Yeah, you're right. They sort of own it, run it
You'll have
themselves.
to explain to me what OnlyFans is, because I don't know what it is.
It's like
My wife doesn't listen to this. My wife doesn't listen to this.
Yeah, but your
My
mother-in-law does.
Mother-in-law does. My mother-in-law listens to this.
No, it's like an Instagram where you post whatever content you want, but people who want to see it have to pay you. And
Instagram and
Patreon gives
Patreon
so
mixed
much
together,
power. Well, it doesn't need to be. You could post yourself singing if you wanted, I think. Like, it doesn't need to be adult.
Yeah, that's
content.
true.
It's not a requirement.
It's encouraged, but it's
but it's interesting. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think that's taking a lot of attention away from the plot of the film. But I think
This is why we didn't want to talk about sex workers as part of it.
That's a great lesson.
Fair
That's
enough,
a great.
fair enough.
If
Miracle
you
doesn't
asked me
have
to,
great
if you asked me
entrance.
to punch the script up, that you would add some interesting community characters that interacted with the daughter or the mother. So that's a valid character to chuck in there. You know, who else are we going to have in this community? Who else are we going to have? Because if she saves the community and buys the community
hold on.
afterwards,
It's
I want to
Miracle.
see I want to know who the actors and the actors that take place. You know, in this
You have
could we? Sorry.
you have a cat lady or cat man, but who used to be
Catman
a
would
vet.
be good.
Used to be a vet, and they take in strays and nurse them back up. And
Are we literally basing everyone around the idea of Miracle? Is that what we're going with?
well,
We can just
in all
take these
fairness,
tropes
that's what
and
my
make them
boss
more
does.
interesting. You know, when you open your doors to someone, you actually find out who they really are. And they're not the cliche of the
Yeah,
person.
and I
behind
like
the
the
curtain or
idea.
whatever,
Maybe Denzel starts doing that. Maybe he starts doing coffees at everyone's
Yeah.
house, and he's the one that finds out about the
that's
community.
good.
Yeah.
You know, that's quite an
So
interesting.
could
idea.
we have this kid, right, who's a bit of a mirror of her dad? So I'm talking about J.Lo's daughter's dad, McConaughey. So this kid, he's a bit of a bully, and he's a bit charming, and he's a mirror, and she at first gets on really well with him, and she enjoys him bullying the other kids. And through seeing what her dad's doing to her mum and the whole thing happening, she realizes
that's not the cool
that's
thing.
not the cool thing to do, and she
Yeah.
learns, and maybe she punches him in the face, and she has to have J.Lo say, "So no, that's not how you deal with bullies." She's like, "That then
Just as
Yeah,
Denzel's
that's
punching
brilliant.
someone in the
Yeah.
Joffrey,
That's
Joffrey,
great.
have you got some pent up aggression? You've been talking about punching people and killing people a lot.
It's the
in this
lockdown.
episode.
It's the lockdown.
Yeah, lockdown aggression.
I'm gonna send you a punch back.
It's that's a great idea. Of course, that's exactly what you need. Because I also sort of like that she maybe the daughter's a little bit of a shit, you know. Or so there is someone who is the mirror of that. That's something we don't actually normally see. You know, they're normally just a bit sweet and a bit sort of innocent, and but someone who has the echoes of the father in them, or the echoes of that's really interesting.
Well, she gets attached to that, and she ends up going off the rails because of it. Yeah,
But
but we've
then,
got everyone's arc there.
yeah, I really like this. Dan, let's do this film.
Yeah, let's just change all the titles and make them actual films.
But we'll release Miracle on 34th Street as a film and a musical in the same year to really confuse people. And so everyone goes to the theatre thinking they're going to see J.Lo and Denzel Washington, especially because there's clips of the film where Denzel and J.Lo are singing, right? So they think, and then they go and see this whole thing about basically West Side Story, but with Christmas food. And they're like, what the hell has just happened to my life?
But also, if we sort of put your name first on one and my name first on the other.
Yeah.
And so have you seen Miracle on 34th Street? Oh, the one by Dante Cruz. No, the one by Jofre. Oh, and then it's the same. So yeah, we can make it really, really confusing.
Yeah,
Really confuse them.
and swap
The
the
only
names
difference
around.
is
You
the
mean on
K
the other
in your
one?
one, because you've got K
Oh,
in
yeah,
yours,
we
haven't
did
you?
say Miracle with a K. Don't need to.
Meanwhile, while this war's going on, Robbie the reindeer comes swooping all the way up to the top of the box office chart.
Let's not forget Deck the Halls. Oh yeah,
Deck the horse.
it makes
Deck the Halls is
$7,000 in the
Halls is
American market. And
Deck the Halls is NRA's favourite Christmas film.
Yeah, you make a lot of money out of that.
Yeah,
yeah,
It gets-
fair enough, of course.
Yeah, so
Because they think it's an ironic thing. They think it's actually against the left wing. They think it's pro sort of all of their ideals, and they go and see it and they love it and support it in the same way that sort of a lot of sort of fundamental sort of Christians are really against Jerry Springer the Opera or Dogma and stuff, because they think it's against their values, but really it's not anything to do with that. But so this is the reverse of that. They think yes, let's go and see this film. It's made for us, but then it's an inversion of that. Yeah. Shit. We've come up with... You were right about that Stockholm Syndrome type thing, Joffrey, because these are all astoundingly terrible ideas, but I want to make them all.
But we love them.
Except for yours, Joffrey, which, to be fair, is actually...
I
We're
think
going to start writing that, aren't we?
if we call Denzel Washington and J.Lo and tell them that our pitch, I think
They'd be up for
I
it.
think they're up for it.
I'll get Rob Schneider on the phone.
And I'll get Tom Cruise on the phone.
Oh, yeah. To be honest, You've mentioned his name, so he's probably listened to this already.
It's gone straight to the NSA or whatever, and they've siphoned it off to the Scientologists, and now all the keywords have been hit.
Tom, they've worked it out. They already know you're in space.
In fact, I don't want to upset anything. And he's on the moon, like eating a sandwich.
What?
Oh, God! He just rides a motorbike up off a crater all the way back
to Earth.
And he does his own stunts.
He's there holding his breath while he enters the atmosphere.
Right,
this is a better movie.
Just listen, just to let you
That's
the
how
public.
Deck the Halls ends.
Just to let you the public know, it's 11 p.m. here, and Joffrey, it's 12 p.m. for you.
Yeah,
so we've all gone a bit giggle crazy.
Loopy, haven't we? This is I want to come back and pitch this new film where Tom Cruise drives his motorcycle from the moon to the Earth. Yeah. That's my favourite idea of all time.
Be the latest Mission Impossible. The next Mission Impossible will have him.
That would be fantastic.
In space. Mission Impossible in space. It's
Mission
going to be
Impossible:
there.
The Dark Side of the Moon.
It would just be called
soundtrack
Dark
Pink
Side.
Floyd.
Yes.
Mission Impossible: Dark Side. Of course it would. Yeah.
Mission Impossible
And the
Dark Side,
entire
and that's
third
brilliant.
act syncs exactly to Dark
Syncs
Side of
with
the Moon.
Dark Side of the Moon.
This is a
Just like
better
Wizard of
idea
Oz.
than anything we've come up with together. So
Actually, if I
this is
can
great.
pitch my backup idea, I think.
Oh, of course, yeah. Please do.
So really, I'm not sure this is worth your time, but fine. So Die Hard.
Yeah.
Die Hard.
Yeah.
This is my last. This is just Die Hard. So there's this villain who kidnaps people and their families and holds the families hostages as hostage, so that and then forces them to race in a hunger style only one can survive. Death races, and they get in cars and it's a racetrack full of traps.
Right.
And that's it. And they all die hard.
So, that's literally it.
Yeah, I mean, we could add a family there, the guy who wants to survive to get back to his family, but at the end of the day, it's a Quentin Tarantino film.
I like
meets
a
Saw.
grindhousey type. Meets...
Oh god, yeah. It's just blood and gore. So that was my first idea. I'm glad I thought that through.
Yes, so am I. I'm glad that you tugged at our heartstrings and gave us something that you started by saying, oh, it's like the trenches of World War One and stuff like that. I'm glad you moved from man
sort of
in
proper
car
journey.
smash things, dies hard. Yeah. Oh,
So
Mission
yeah, maybe I
Impossible
do
Dark
have some
Side.
pent-up aggression.
Yeah.
Right.
Honestly, Mission Impossible Dark Side. Love it. Come to us, Macquarie.
That is, yeah.
We'll write it. So those were some incredible ideas. All I can now think about is Tom Cruise in space and him
Mission Impossible
somehow
Dark Side.
mixed in with some sort of Die Hard death race type thing. It's just overridden all the good work that you guys put in. But that's the beauty. That's the beauty of these titles, and I'm really glad we could take some Christmas titles and do something different with them. And that's the wonderful thing about a title. I love titles to films. I think they're the most important part. The film has to be good, obviously, but I still love a title. And why the decisions are made, why titles are the way they are. Some of them just astound me. So maybe we should do one on silly titles. If anyone wants to give us in the socials bad titles, X versus Sever : Ballistic. That's a terrible title for a movie.
Remember, keep an eye on our social media because we put up some really shit film titles that we find. So if you see any others, please tag us in them or post them on our Twitter and on our Facebook. You can find those at Slash Dupe, and same thing with Instagram. Chuck them in the Reddit as well. We've got a //Slash Dupe on the Reddit. So if you want to prove to us that there are some really awful titles out there, as Sean said, X versus Sever : Ballistic, that's awful. But let's see what you got.
Yeah. We may even end up using them in an episode later on, a bonus one.
You know what you're missing out on is title translations. ridiculous title
God,
translations.
you're so right.
God, yes.
Because in Spain, at least for a long time, we had this thing where when they translated the title of a film, it had to be really explanatory.
Right.
So,
okay.
for example, like Paint Your Wagon.
Yeah.
You remember that wonderful movie?
Sure.
Was
Classic.
translated as The Legend of No Name City.
That's such a great
or-
title.
Some Like It Hot.
Uh-huh.
The translation for Some Like It Hot is Put a Skirt On and Go Crazy.
That's Jofre, I would be honoured if you would come back for a special episode where we look at titles.
I'll do some research because there are some amazing gems out there.
That would be amazing. I'd be
Put
truly,
a skirt
truly
on and go crazy sounds like a good Saturday night.
That is a fantastic instruction, isn't it? So we're at the point where, I mean, we just went through 6 fantastic ideas with our adjudicators in our last episode. Rosie Pearson and James Pearson of Pearson Casting. They, as we mentioned earlier on, they adjudicated on the previous 6 films and picked a winner. And you need to go back and listen to that because their thought process. I mean, they came out. This is diametrically opposed to this episode. They came out from a very sort of industry viewpoint, and it was really interesting to see how they broke down the ideas and how they sort of scalped the winner that rose out of the top, like the cream from the barrel. So that's. I really enjoyed that episode, and as I enjoyed this episode, so what's our plan for Christmas? What are we doing?
Well, this officially marks the last episode of Slash Dupes for 2020. We've had a great year producing from episodes
not
1.
anything out there. The rest of the year has been terrible. But in terms of producing Slash Dupes, it's been
Slash Dupes has
the
been a
best
good
it's
year.
ever
But
been.
we've said in previous episodes, we've had guests come on and said this has been the highlight of their year in this awful year. You know, we've brought joy to people's commutes, as Jofre has said. And I think, you know, we've all enjoyed doing it. Sean described it earlier in a message. He said it's like a hot bath. You know, like you spend ages filling up and then as soon as you're in there, you love it and you don't ever want to leave. And that's, I think, a really good analogy for Slash.
Because
It was far more graphic his description than I needed.
I just wrote slowly in the story that I told you guys about.
But so this episode, obviously out on the 18th of December, we're going to take a break. We're going to take a break over Christmas and New Year. So we will be back on the 8th of January 2021 to give you your newest episode of Slash Dupe.
Yes, and if you're missing Slash Dupe in the meantime and you have some time, if you're out of the office, if you're at home, or if you're trying to get a break from the family, if you're lucky enough to be able to see them, then send us a message on our socials. Let us know what films we should do. Give us some titles. We're really looking to you guys to especially as we close off the series eventually, and we need your input.
I just want to say, I know we haven't picked a winner. I know we're not picking a winner in today's episode, but Jofre, man, your idea was so good that if we had a winner, I would volunteer. If I won, on the rare occasion, I would give it up for your idea. And I absolutely think it should be entered as a wild card.
That's a good point. And I think it's something that, like, you know, if we get a bit of support online, and that seems to be the consensus, we will. I would happily put that in as.
Thank you. I
as a
mean,
wild card.
to be honest, it was just my romantic side. But
That's-
I will
yeah, it
get
was, wasn't
all
it?
my friends to aggressively email you saying,
do
"We
it."
loved his idea. It's best."
Your vote only counts if you subscribe to us and you pay for our lowest level Patreon. I was just actually thinking, if you get any extra spare Christmas money, that's somewhere that you could maybe support us, because as we go into the new year, this is fun for us to do. We love doing it, but obviously it takes some work and takes effort. And we'd really like to be able to deliver like super high quality podcasting, which we, you know, maybe we have or haven't in the past, but we'd really like to keep doing that, and we'd like to be able to contact as many people around the world, keep all our guests being around there, and that's going to involve just a little bit of help. And if you get a load of Christmas money from Granny that you don't know what to do with, put it in a Patreon. You can be in the trailer.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? And commit now if you're a real fan. Commit now before you even know the winner.
For someone else as their present. Buy it for someone else as their present. They'd love you for that.
And they don't even know what film they're going to be in, because we don't even know what the winner is yet. But it doesn't matter.
It's the perfect Christmas gift, actually, the more I think about it.
That's the best I've ever seen you shill anything, Dan. I'm genuinely impressed by that. That was amazing. It was a real pleasure to do this, and I'm really looking forward to, despite the Christmas that has been altered, we know that we will still find ways to celebrate and be thankful. So I just want to say, Dan and Ryan, thank you very much. Have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Sean.
I'll see you in the new year when it's when we're allowed to. Joffrey, it's such a pleasure. Such a pleasure to have you on.
It was
Honestly.
an absolute delight to be here. And I think I just might fly over and force you all into quarantine with me, because this has been a delight. And this was food for the soul.
Oh, thank you. A real pleasure. And we will absolutely have you back on. If not for an episode where we look at translated titles, then for any other episode, we'll gladly have you back. So if you'd be happy for that to happen, we would be more than happy to have you back.
Yes, please. Yes, all the time.
All right, lots of love, everyone. Stay safe over Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Recorded in the Capo Studios 2020. What's up, Danger?